Hi everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. So I'm going to talk through some of my eye catchers that I've noted from the last week. Starting last Wednesday at Bangor, there was this Novices Chase listed race for mares, which West Balboa took her chance in and disappointed. Beaten 21 lengths over 2 mile. That is not her trip. She's not a 2-miler. Probably her best performance to date was actually winning a feature handicap at Aintree in 2023 off a mark of 135. She beat Pounding Poet comfortably that day. Behind were Mill Green, Good Time Johnny, all the horses that had come from the Pertemps final, and West Balboa won it really impressively. Now, I feel that they are working towards the end of the season again already with West Balboa. When she goes back up and tripped, so she was unlucky at Worcester. She would have at least finished second. I actually think she might have even run down El Elefante if she'd jumped the last well. She finished fourth. It looked like a disappointing effort, but they then dropped her back in trip. That drop in trip, there was no interest in winning that race at Bangor. I imagine that was to get the handicap mark down slightly. Definitely keep an eye out for the new handicap mark of West Balboa tomorrow. If they drop it £2, £3, down to like that sort of mark, she is perfectly handicapped for future races. And there's a couple that are really obvious. They're really obvious for me. There's the 3 mile handicap at Aintree in April, but there's also the Coral Trophy that I do think they're targeting Phlegmatic at this year as well. But it's such a lucrative race that they might as well send 2 in it, the Skeltons that is. Why would you go to Kempton? Well, she's a former winner of the Lanzarote Hurdle, so she clearly does act at Kempton. And then the last run at Kempton, when she was beaten by Boomborn and a few others, Katira was in there as well. Dan was getting his horses well handicapped. Boomborn was there to win, Harry Road. Katira was there to run okay, with Aintree in mind. West Balboa was there to run okay with Aintree in mind. Katira went and won at Aintree. West Balboa came out and finished third, beaten by another Dan Skelton horse. In fifth that day was Harbour Lake, who's come out and won at Aintree since. It was a really good run at Kempton. Irish Hills also won from that race. There was actually lots of... that was a really good handicap, and Dan was really clever in placing his horses there with future races in mind. Now, I want to highlight West Balboa now because we've got to keep an eye out for when she goes up to 3 mile and when she drops into handicap, and when her handicap mark is, I imagine it's going to be dropped to this week. But when the horse is back over 3 and in a handicap, that's when I'm very keen to get on West Balboa. So that's one I think you should be keeping an eye out for. Second horse that caught my eye was another Dan Skelton horse. It was Shanblue, who ran well for a long way behind Celeb Dalen, Pullagen Green and Mont Igualdo. You can see that he traded 5-2 in the run from an SP of 8.82 on the exchanges. Now, he drifted significantly just before the off, suggesting to me that he wasn't fit, he wasn't ready, and maybe this wasn't his, early season target. I think he probably needed that run, but wherever he goes next, I'll be very interested. I thought he ran well for such a long way for a horse that I believe wasn't ready, that he'll step forward so much that I think he'll go really well next time. He is a 10-year-old, so he could run in veterans races, and there's a few veterans races that he could certainly be aimed at. He could also come back for a race at maybe Ascot, where he's run well the last twice. In the Howden, third off 142, and then third again in the Swinley Chase off 143. Currently rated 142, might end up 140. I think that's where we're going to see probably Shanblue in the veterans races or at Ascot. He's definitely one I want to keep on side. And the third horse that I like is Aston Martini. Now, Aston Martini, for me, should have won at Bangor. However, just before the race started, I tweeted, I hope Might Eye doesn't ruin his handicap mark here, because I believed that Might Eye was really well handicapped. on the back of some decent efforts last year. He dropped in the handicap, and I was kind of waiting them to run him in a feature handicap, and I was going to get on those feature handicaps. Unfortunately, they've probably wasted their handicap mark winning here at Bangor. I imagine he'll go up £4 or £5 for that, and it'll just be harder next time for Might Eye. Aston Martini, however, for such a lightly raced horse, was top rated. You can see the right 4 horses made the front 4. Aston Martini should have won. If he'd jumped the last, he would have won. I think that he could be very, very, very progressive on the basis that he then just got run down by the very, very well handicapped Might Eye. I think that race will probably work out quite well. And the front 2 are definitely the 2 I'm most interested in going forward. And Aston Martini, I think, is massively progressive. Where would I go with that? Martin Pipe. Martin Pipe via a race at Newbury. There is a race at Newbury that Aston Martini could certainly run in. Go to the Martin Pipe, and I think Aston Martini would turn up there with a huge chance for Nicky Henderson and HP Racing. Moving on, we go to Cheltenham now, and was this Thursday? I think it was. The horse that caught my eye here was Ilad de Soie. Actually came out top rated on our ratings, went off a massive price, finished 5th, only beaten 5 lengths by the winner, probably behind the right horses. Double Powerful came into the race looking for a 6-timer. Plaisir de Flore came into the race looking for a 6-timer. They finished 1st and 3rd. The runner-up was the Tony Martin trained Young Lucy. Tony Martin's, a lot of his horses ran well at Cheltenham, and to be fair to Young Lucy, probably should have won if she'd got a clear run and jumped the last. The 4th horse, Tune in a Box, you can see that Tune in a Box's form had been pretty good until one disappointing effort at Chepstow on her return for Tom Lacey. But if you take that race out, the rest of her form had been very good, and maybe she now ran. I'm saying she, is it a she? No, it's a gelding. Sorry. Maybe he now ran back to what he was. Very progressive. Il Fait de Soie, considering came into the race off the back of a couple of wins. Went off 25-1, suggesting to me that wasn't anywhere near ready. Wasn't anywhere near ready. I don't think this was beyond the horse at all. I thought the previous efforts had been good. I just don't think Il Fait de Soie was ready to run a race that could see the horse winning, and yet still ran a really good effort for 5th. A drop in class would be, very kind or very nice. Or what I mean by a drop in class is just up against less progressive or in-form horses. I mean, these were mental in-form. Look at the top 7 here, or 8. Let's have a look. We've got Double Powerful looking for a 6-timer. We've got the Irish horse that was well handicapped. Plaisir de Flore looking for a 6-timer. Great form here for Tune in a Box, 1 disappointing run. American Sniper had won last time out. Stay If You Want To, a couple of runner-up performances. Get a Lead had won his last 2. The form was actually really strong, and it was probably a very strong conditional jockey's handicap hurdle. There's probably going to be a few winners out of this, but Il Fait de Soie is the one I want to definitely keep on side going forward next time. And if it runs in a regulation class 3, I think Il Fait de Soie next time will go really close. Moving on to the cross-country chase. I was really disappointed with the ride on Mr. Coffee. Sweet David may well have still won. I don't know what Nico de Boinville was doing on Mr. Coffee. Giving it far, far too much to do. Ran on really strongly, finished 2nd. Got beat by a cross-country specialist in Sweet David. Beat a cross-country specialist in Back on the Lash. That was his first attempt at it. He was out of the handicap because of Conflated, who surely isn't going to run again in these types of races, and they're going to go back to the regulation fences for Conflated. Yeah, Mr. Coffee, I think will massively improve for that, and probably, in the long term and in hindsight, it might work out perfect for Mr. Coffee. If Conflated doesn't run in the race at the Cheltenham Festival, and we don't quite get those right at the top of the handicap again because it's a handicap, we might see that Mr. Coffee is in the handicap. They know he will act at the course. They know he will jump fine. They know he knows there's no way around the course now. I think Mr. Coffee could finally break his duck over fences in the cross-country handicap chase at Cheltenham in March. So it's definitely one I want to keep an eye out for. I'll probably keep backing him in cross-country races for the time being. Moving on to the 3:30, I want to give a shout out to Potter's Charm, who destroyed Valgrand. I know I thought Valgrand was given a really good ride by Harry Skelton. For a horse with so much speed, you know, the doubt with Valgrand was whether he would stay. I think he stayed. He was off the bridle, though, at the point he shouldn't have been off the bridle. As in, you know, Harry was going, come on, we need to go faster, because Potter's Charm is still with us. Could not get Potter's Charm off the bridle, despite being a very, very classy horse. I think Potter's Charm will end up as the best of the British novice hurdlers, staying novice hurdlers. I really do. I think that was a huge, huge performance from Potter's Charm. Moving on to the 145 at Cheltenham, the Arkle. Great to see Loda Sood win. Still, the horse to take out of this race is Petit Tonnerre. When he goes back handicapping, he's going to go really close in a handicap. 2.5 mile would be ideal. And there is that 2.5 mile novice handicap chase at the Cheltenham Festival. He's got some decent form at Cheltenham, including when finishing 7th in a county hurdle, when not getting the clearest of runs and looking like he needed further. They then came back last year for the county hurdle. He doesn't want 2 mile. He's not quick enough for 2 mile. He wants 2.5 mile. As soon as he goes up in trip for that 2.5 mile novice handicap chase at Cheltenham, that's when I think we want to get on Petit Tonnerre. I'll probably be backing him in races beforehand when he goes back handicapping. He's not a graded horse. He's a handicapper. But he's actually really nicely handicapped over fences. You know, he's really nicely handicapped in general. We've got to remember for example, when he finished 7th in the county a few years back, he was running off a mark of 140. He's down to 127. Just needs things to go right. And I think the 2.5 mile trip will really play to his strengths at Cheltenham. So keep an eye out for Petit Tonnerre. 220, the Paddy Power Gold Cup. Really pleased to get the winner with Il Ridotto. Frustrated we didn't end up with a double because Be Aware did not win. Not in terms of a double. You know, I didn't have those two in a double, but both winners of the 2 feature races at Cheltenham. So Il Ridotto was good. The horse to take out the race pulled up. Ginny's Destiny. Do not give up on Ginny's Destiny. Went off 3-1 favourite for a reason. Has some really, really good form. Let's have a look at his previous efforts. First time up. October 2022. We can even go back to his first run at Exeter in February 2022. February 2022, he got beat by Outer Belly by 5 and a bit lengths. Now, Outer Belly is not a bad horse. Outer Belly is currently rated 130 over hurdles. Ginny's Destiny is rated 155. In hindsight, that's probably a disappointing result, finishing second to Outer Belly for Ginny's Destiny. October 2022, first run over hurdles, went off the 5-2 favourite, finished 4th, beaten 12 lengths. Mayen's Glory, He's a Geezer, Mexico were in front. That's a disappointing effort on his first run back. Last season, Cheltenham, novices handicap chase, 7th of 9 of 135 over 2.5 mile. He's a 2.5 miler. How can he be going off 3-1 favourite the following year off a £20 higher mark? He can, because he's got that class. Just might demonstrate he needs the run. 3 first time up efforts, 3 disappointing efforts. This makes it 4 for the Paddy Power Gold Cup. They got the win, Paul Nicholls did, with Il Ridotto anyway, so they'll be delighted. And now they can go and win the December Gold Cup with Ginny's Destiny, who obviously stepped forward massively. If we go back again from those efforts, second to Outer Belly, went on to win at Chepstow. 4th to Mayenn's Glory, went on to win at Warwick. 7th to Idalco Bu at Cheltenham, went on to win at Cheltenham. Next time up, the horse is actually 3 from 3, having been 0 from 3 on his previous starts. Jenny's Destiny, December Gold Cup. We continue. We move to the 255, the handicap hurdle. Before the race, obviously we were on Thanks for the Help. Now, before the race, this is going to sound a little bit like after timing. I had in my head there was 3 dangers in this race: Doyen Quest, Gal Road and Noble Birth. The Irish horse, because they're so well handicapped in the UK, and Noble Birth had shown some decent form in Ireland. Gal Road had previously finished 3rd at Pertemps Final, 2nd on his first run back at Cheltenham, had some really good form. And Doyen Quest, who could just be incredibly well handicapped. On the basis of that, Thanks for the Help has probably run a really good performance for 4th. Actually travelled quite nicely, traded relatively low in the run, went 3 to 1 in the run. I think he's just been beaten by 3 horses that are maybe a bit better than him at this stage. He is only rated 118 though. I think the handicap will leave him on 118. I don't think he'll touch him. And off 118, you can go wherever you like. You can go to a Class 3 race, or a probably less competitive Class 2 like this was. I think they'll find a Class 3 for him, go and win it, and I think they could win it really impressively. There's got to be a race probably at Chepstow that he could go to, or Wincanton. There's definitely going to be races that they can find with Thanks for the Help off the back of that. Maybe next time they will find a Pertemps qualifier to get him in the Pertemps final, and that could well be Chepstow in February, trying to win that like they did a few years ago, and then turning up for the final at the Cheltenham Festival. So I definitely want to keep a Thanks for the Help on side for maybe another couple of runs sort of thing. Next time out, I think he could, if it looks like a race that they're trying to win, which it surely has to be off 118, I think he will take all of the beating next time. That's Thanks for the Help. Moving on to the 330. Now, I don't often put winners in my NagMe or horses that I want to keep an eye on. Hamsian, Tony Martin should just keep running him in England. And 2 mile 5, to be honest, is probably short enough. I think that's probably the bare minimum for Hamsian. Travelled nicely, picked up nicely, won going away. The horse will stay 3 miles, come over to the England, find a Pertemps qualifier, win that, go up enough, get in the final. I think Hamsian could be one of these Pertemps final horses for Tony Martin this year. Definitely one to keep an eye out for. As I said, I'd love to keep. I think they should keep him in England though, because he was so far ahead of his mark in England, and there's not horses, there's not rivals that can beat him in England. In Ireland, they're just better horses, and they're better handicapped horses as well. So I said I was going to talk about this in my Sunday analysis video, and I think I forgot. I was going to talk about the short go, that horse. He'd finished 2nd behind Senior Chief and in front of Broadway Boy, at Cheltenham. And I was then like, so is it well handicapped in Ireland? Well, in Ireland, they're all well handicapped in comparison. So, you could have sent like 5 or 6 of those from the Troy Town yesterday into the race at Cheltenham, and they would have all run well. So sometimes, although they might win a race in the UK and look really well handicapped, when they go back to Ireland, they're then taking on other horses that are also well handicapped in England, because the handicap level is completely different, in my opinion. I think the Irish horses are just better, and until we get a 1 handicap mark for the UK and Irish all working together and just coming up with 1 handicap mark, the Irish are going to continually be able to come over to England, win handicaps, and then go back to Ireland. And yeah, the British horses are going to get left behind. Moving on to the 145. This was on Sunday. Peaky Boy won this race. Now, I said before the race, I said a few days before the race, whatever Nick Anderson runs in it, he's going to win, because he all of the horses that were in it had big chances. Lucky Place was one. I will get the name when this email comes out. I'll get the name of all of those horses that were in the race, and I'll let you know who are the other ones that I think are interesting next time for Nicky Henderson when they do eventually run. Peaky Boy needs 3 miles. He really does. He needs 3 miles. Nicky doesn't think he does yet. I think he does. I think he needs 3 miles. When this horse steps up to 3 mile, I think it's going to be even better. So yeah, definitely, I will get the name of those horses that I also think Nicky had in the race. He just went for Peaky Boy because he thought, well, we'll win it with Peaky Boy. And talking of that, I think I've found another race where whatever they run, they're going to go close. And actually, we should have the entries now. I'm just going to look on my other screen. Saturday, it's at Saturday, the race. It is at Haydock. Let's see if they've loaded them up yet. They have. Okay, it is the Betfair Stayers Handicap Hurdle. And I've got in my head, whatever Dan Skelton runs, I think Dan Skelton will win with. Now, interestingly, he's got 2, 3... He's got 1, 2, 3, 4 in the race currently. Doyen Quest, Catchem Derry, Punta del Este, and Gwenny May Boy. I think Dan Skelton wins that race. So when it comes to the time and he's declared his runners, I'm hoping he just leaves the 1 in. Maybe 2, maybe a bigger price one that he can put a young conditional jockey on, take £5-7 off. But whatever Harry jumps on, I think will win that race. And I imagine he's going to ride Doyen Quest, because that was a really impressive performance at Cheltenham. Moving on to the 220 at Cheltenham. Do you know what? I thought Third Time Lucky and Gunsight Ridge were really eye-catching. Gunsight Ridge fell when making a lot of ground up. Looked outpaced. Then made a lot of ground up. Now, interestingly, the fact that he was outpaced, maybe he needs to step up to 2.5 mile. I do like a race for him, but it's not until Aintree, which I'm sure they won't be waiting for. But that's where I'd send him. I'd go back to Aintree. I don't really want them to be waiting until the Red Rum Handicap Chase, in April. I do think this horse is well handicapped. He might need a bit of time off because that was a crushing fall, to be honest, at Cheltenham. But I think he's demonstrating that he is still quite nicely handicapped off 139. The other horse that I think you want to be interested in is Third Time Lucky. Travelled after being left behind initially, then picked up, came into the race, and I thought, wow, Third Time Lucky's our danger. We were on Matata. Third Time Lucky's our danger. And he then faded really quickly. But we've got to remember, that was his first run for 584 days. He's dropped to a mark of 145. He was previously aimed at Cheltenham. What did he run in at Cheltenham? He ran in the county hurdle off 143. And he also finished 4th over fences, didn't he? He's finished 4th to Fernie Hollow in the bumper. 2nd to For Pleasure in a Grade 2. Won a couple of races, including beating Buddy Rich. 4th to Mascada. There it is. 4th to Mascada in the Grand Annual of 149. Now, he's running off 145. He got beat at the weekend. Just keep an eye on that horse. Does Fergal try and plan him to come back for that Grand Annual with him? Talking of the Grand Annual, I've got to go back to a race back here. Where is it? Paddy Power. We were so unlucky with our analysis of Madara. I said I wanted the horse to finish 5th, then drop in trip and go and win the Grand Annual. He finished 4th. He got too close. Just over, I think he come into the last in 5th, and I'm like, go on, that'll be perfect. Exactly the same as what Unexpected Party did last year. The way the horse ran on, the drop to 2 mile doesn't look exactly right. However, I do wonder whether he was being ridden here to just find out about the horse. It wasn't Harry on board. Harry was, it was Tristan Durrell on board. And I just wonder whether he came back in and went, yeah, the horse is nice, jumps well, we can drop back in trip for sure. I never really put the horse in the race. But But yeah, definitely keep Madara on side as well for that Grand Annual. But keep an eye out for both Third Time Lucky and Gunsight Ridge, where they go next time. And finally, the frustrating one of the weekend was Be Aware, who finished second for us, beaten half a length by Burdett Road, who was given a soft time, an easy lead. For a horse that had been keen in his races, to then allow him to dictate was a terrible decision by every other jockey. Something of a big price. The likes of Cracking Rhapsody or Tollstone or Jacobet Cavern or something like that, Black Poppy, should have gone up and gone, right, we're going to take you on then. We're not going to let you settle. We're not going to give you the easiest time going. That horse, Burdett Road, has the easiest time in that race. Wasn't keen because he wasn't taken on and managed to hold off Be Aware. Similarly, Be Aware, coming down the hill with 2 to jump, I said, go through that gap. There was a gap between Tin 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 and Godante. Harry sat and waited. If he'd gone through that gap, when he then turned off the final bend, he would have been 3 or 4 lengths closer. And I think he would have then run down Burdett Road. So it was a case of a bit of poor riding and also allowing the speedy horse at the front to get the easiest run going. Nothing took him on. Really poor rides from plenty of the jockeys. Maybe you could say Dysart Enos and Be Aware they were given okay rides in the fact that we don't want to take him on. We think we can go well. But when you've got a massive price selection like Cracking Rhapsody or Tollstone, as I've just mentioned, do something different to what you normally do and actually try it. And if the favourite's getting an easy lead or the second favourite, go and, push him along and go, we're not going to let you have that easy ride. We're going to try something different. Where does Be Aware go? They've already mentioned, they've said the Betfair Exchange Trophy at Ascot. I think it'll go well. Back to Newbury, or to Newbury. Back to Newbury. He has run at Newbury. Back to Newbury for the Betfair Hurdle. And then the County or the Coral. I think it'd be the County, personally. He doesn't need to step up and trip. They'll go fast enough in the Cheltenham Festival. And nothing will get such an easy lead. Probably because there'll be more Irish as well. Well-handicapped Irish horses. That some of those are going to go, we're not going to let Burdett Road, for example, if that was in it, have that easy lead. So yeah, there's a few thoughts from the last few weeks, or from the last week of racing. I think the one that I definitely want you to add to your NagMe is Ginny's Destiny. Do not give up on Ginny's Destiny. Will go much better next time, I'm sure.